Hi, I'm Nick Sorrentino for Liberty and Economics Review. Today we had a dip in the Dow of 323 points, or 3.15%, on fears that Europe is basically unraveling, that you've got all these different little countries in Europe, and no cohesive strategy will be able to be employed. Um, Basically, the finance minister of Hungary came out overnight saying, apocalypse is upon Hungary. God help us. Um, that's what you want to hear. It must have been a fun Friday to wake up to um, in Hungary. And then the jobs number came out. What was interesting is that the president came out and actually tried to tout it as like a positive. Um, but once you look past the immediate number, it's 400 and something jobs created, 400,000 something jobs created. Turns out that 95% of the jobs created were census jobs, temporary jobs, government jobs, and that basically the private sector isn't doing nearly anything. Uh, and the market sold off on both of those big pieces of news. Um, One definitely gets the sense that we've been going along here for a good long time. Media um, has really made the case. Oh yeah, things are turning around. We're in a recovery. People say, "Where is the recovery?" And I say, "Oh yeah, it's here. Just look at the stock market." Of course, the stock market rose, 80% from the March lows of last year, basically because the Federal Reserve poured tons and tons of fiat money into the system. It had to be laundered somewhere, so it went to the market. And now we're seeing that you can buoy things with fake money for a while, but eventually, the chickens come home to the proverbial roost. Um, we we're seeing that. I mean, I am of the belief that we are seeing another leg down here. I didn't think we were going like this and then this at any point. You can see that in my videos. I've argued that we're kind of bumping along um, pretty much a global super recession slash depression. And because of all the market intervention of the governments, I mean, they're essentially just making it worse and worse and worse and worse. There's no, I mean, I don't see any relief. There were periods like this during the Great Depression where the economy seemed to buoy and then it fell off again. Um, anyway, one of the things I was thinking about today, living outside of Washington, D.C., is how there definitely seems to be, if you're within the fortress, okay, if you are able to tap the government largesse, you're doing reasonably well. Um, you know, basically, the people who are employed by the federal government have the most walls around them. Um, like the people in the private sector are the most challenged, right? The you know the economic barbarians beat down those walls pretty quick, right? You get to the next wall, and those are the municipal employees. Well, the municipalities are really feeling it now. I mean, there's some city in California where they're saying they're not going to have any cops. They're not going to employ any cops. All right, so they're feeling that. I mean, they're really cutting it. Then the next stage is the states. Now, my state, excuse me, like the Commonwealth of Virginia, um, it's reasonably well run, and so far, aside from the fact that the grass and the medians is a little bit longer, we haven't really suffered that much, and the state employees haven't either. But they'll be seeing that later this year. And then you have the federal government. and then lots of feds where I live. And I was talking to a guy down the road. He's a landscape architect. Uh, Live in a pretty nice neighborhood, and uh, I was jogging and I looked over and I saw that this guy had chickens in his house, in not in his house, on his yard. I just thought that was really cool, and I went over and talked with him. I always wanted to keep chickens, um, and he told me about his chickens and all that sort of stuff, and how he'd been out of work for a couple of years, and how you know he had met some. He had a friend that was employed through the federal government, made like 100K a year, um, and it just solidifies. I mean, that there's so many breaks for people who know how to work the government system, or are willing, you know, from a moral perspective, to do it. Um, and it's frustrating. I'm a small business owner. I just want my taxes cut. Um, I want as much. I want as little overhead as humanly possible. Um, but that doesn't seem to be the direction we're headed in. And that does not bode well for the real economy. And we're basically coming down to a point where we have the producing economy and the non-producing economy. And the producing economy being, business people creating jobs, employing people, meeting payrolls, and so on. And then you have the people who are the regulators, the people who run the courts, and so on. Um, and the thing is, as a good friend of mine often pointed out, um, this might be a strong term for some, but a parasite doesn't kill its host. Um, you need to be able to suck blood to keep going, and That's what governments traditionally do. They don't kill their host. They need to pull tax revenue from somewhere to keep them going. We're reaching a point where we may have messed things up so badly that the host is dying, and the parasite, forgive the term again, is still sucking off the body that is weakened, um, and just needs its blood. So, anyway, that was a rather gruesome analogy, but you get my point. Till next time, I'm Nick Sorrentino.